From the heart of Maine, this is the DuView Podcast.
And welcome to this week's episode of the DuView Podcast. I am your host, Du, aka Ryan Dumont, and I'm coming to you guys this week with a solo podcast episode. That's right, no guest this week, just myself here in the studio, addressing you guys directly. I just wanted to take a step back and actually did not plan to have a guest this week at all. You know, nobody dropped out, anything like that. Just wanted to do a solo podcast. I did say when I started this that I'd, check in, so to speak, from time to time and just kind of, check in and kind of call this the first state of the podcast, so to speak here. So I'm, coming to you guys directly myself this week. I just wanted to, also take some time to reflect on, where we've come with the podcast so far, or rather where I've come with the podcast so far. But also, just kind of give you guys kind of a fun solo episode, get to know me a little bit more, just some personal stuff that, my preferences, different things like that. I'm actually going to come to you guys directly with top 10 summer list for the state of Maine. All right, that's could be events, places, things, and we'll get to that a little bit later in this episode. But before we get to that, I just wanted to, start off the solo podcast, episode 6. It's been a good ride so far. 5 episodes under the belt, one being solo, but the rest with guests have all been fantastic. And I really feel like, my selection of guests has brought something to the table, given people something to think about, gotten a lot of positive messages, hey, it's really cool that you got, in episode 3 with John Millett, you got your mentor on, right? Not a lot of, I guess folks are given that opportunity, or maybe I'm just I extremely lucky, to be able to have, my former mentors and friends and whatever that are willing to come on, people that are willing to put themselves out there. So it's great to receive some positive feedback like that. And like I said, it's definitely been a journey so far. And when I first started this, putting yourself out there a little bit more, it's definitely been interesting, but it's been good. I will say that it's been good regardless. I've mostly positive feedback, few constructive criticisms there, but that's important. You need to be able and willing to build upon yourself and get better. I try to give you guys, on a budget, the best, product I can, right? I mean, I'm a 24-year-old. I'm not a millionaire, not, self-wealthy here. So, everything that, I put into this comes right out of my pocket. So, like I said, I try to, give you guys the best product possible. And I'm always trying to improve things. And there will be improvements to the podcast. There will be different arrays of guests. Different things like that, So I mean, it's been mostly just people I've known so far directly, but we will expand things as things continue to unfold here with the DuView podcast. So yeah, DuView, my views, and again, solo podcast today. So I just wanted to reflect back on those few things before moving forward here. But looking at my guests here so far, we had first guest Lucas Rushton, second guest John Millett. Third guest there, Tony Gabriel, obviously, and my fourth guest for the 5th episode was Kelly Colbath. So all these people I've known for a good while, or at least for 5+ years easily, and I felt like all of them had a different message to bring to the table early on starting out. Not only because it embodied some of the core principles that I hold important to myself and hold important to the the content of this podcast, but just wanted to give people a sense of this is my take on life in part, right? Because who you associate with, who you're friendly with, does say a lot about you as a person, right? I mean, if you're seen with someone who holds certain views, people may also assume you hold those certain views, right? That's just a very brief and basic example, but the fact of the matter is I try to surround myself with good people for the most part. Life's a struggle, right? We all make mistakes. We all, do unintended things from time to time. But, you really try to surround yourself with people that bring the best energy and the best, the best life, I guess I want to call it, to yourself. And, happiness, community, and the other parts that go in with that. So, it's really been unique, to have, not only, you're starting off with, he's my friend and roommate, but he's also, my brother. And so he and I, Lucas, referring to Lucas, he and I had been through a lot together. So it made talking about things, very easy. And then going on to talk with, Mr. Millett in the 3rd episode, it was really cool for me to be able to reflect back because myself, the Skitter crew, my friend group, which originally was around those eight core group of us or so, 7 or 8 of us, maybe 5 or 6 of us. However, things played out there. Regardless, it gives you an opportunity when you talk with somebody who you've known for a while to reflect back on some of the stories or the moments. I got to think when talking with him. He left, and I had a good amount of time to think about a lot of the things that he and I had done together, or had happened in those years during high school on sports teams or in his classroom or whatever. It just makes you think. It makes you reflect back, and I think that type of reflection is important. Not to dwell on it too long, right? Because if you dwell on the past too long, you'll get lost in it, and you'll try to live off past glories for the rest of your life, and that's not healthy either by any means. But the fact of the matter is, it's good to reflect from time to time, and it's good to also reflect on to see if there's been any growth there. And both of us, both knowing Millet, now for 10 years, both he and I, still very close. But 10 years have happened. He's gone on, taken a new job. I went off to school. And your relationship changes as you know people longer. And it's more from a very mentor based role early on to more of a very close friend now. And that's unique too, because it gets you thinking about a lot of things there. It's just the development of relationships with people, and why cultivating good relationships and putting in the time with people is important. That takes me on to Tony Gabry being the guest after for episode 4. And like I said, Tony is a longtime friend of my dad's. I've known Tony literally my whole life. And he's just very humble. And if you're listening, Tony, sorry, but very humble. But he's also a fantastic musician. I didn't want to lay it on too thick there, but Tony is unreal. If you ever get an opportunity to see Tony play, TonyGabry.com. To check out when gigs are back. Definitely go see one of Tony's gigs. He plays with a great group. Regardless if it's jazz or something else, you just go see it. It's fantastic. But talking with Tony, it was less so like talking with a family friend at times, and more so of talking with another musician. Like I said, I briefly in that episode I've played drums for close to 14 years now, pretty darn close. And I've been singing, in choir and choruses and solo for a lot longer than that. And it's not something I do all the time. I mean, COVID really derailed a lot, as we said, a lot of music-based plans, especially mine. Trying to get a group together myself, but excuse me, quick drink there. But the fact of the matter is, it was like talking with another musician, and you can kind of nerd out on music stuff, right? Like you can talk about Zeppelin 2 for 20 minutes, and you could talk about guitar licks for another 20 minutes, right? That podcast episode could have gone on for 4 hours, folks. I won't lie to you. But I only have so much time, and people do have limited attention spans. But no, if the conversation's good, I'm definitely gonna have these people on again without worry. So if you enjoyed it, a conversation I had with a certain guest so far, don't worry. There's a good chance that they could definitely come back here in the near future. All of them so far have said they'd come back, so I'm gonna take that and run with it, so to speak. But anyway, getting back to the music, stuff. It was cool to talk with him as a musician, not as an equal by any mean. Tony is like I said, fantastic. I'm a part timer, but the fact of the matter is that talking with him like that, but also talking about the good old days, finding out a little bit more about what was your dad like as an 18-year-old. Actually. Finding out, some of the stories that, your parents don't tell you when you're around, your family friends too. So there was that aspect to that too, and it was a really unique experience for me. So moving on to my most recent guest there, Kelly Colbath. Like I said, Kelly and I met back when we were at St. A's in school. But one of my closest friends. It's great having both her and Lucas like a half an hour away in Lewiston, being in Augusta. It's quick and easy. See them really whenever they want. Saw Lucas earlier this week, as a matter of fact. So it's great to have those people, and it's good to have those people you can rely on. But I will say, reflecting back on our episode about empathy, or the last episode I should say about empathy and helping other people, it's just you got to make sure you don't take advantage of those folks that are willing to help you out whenever. And I say that you got to think about, in part, if you're having is it really a bad day? Or is it just like an inconvenience? You know what I'm saying? You gotta prioritize things, because everybody's going through something. So just I'm not saying be selective, but just consider what the problem is. If it's something minute, did your plant die? Did, like what actually happened here? You know what I'm saying? With anybody, not just with my relationship with Kelly, right? Like, when I'm having a bad day, it's easy to go to somebody like Kelly, right? Because as we said, they're so accessible, they're so easy to talk to, right? And they care, and they feel obligated to care, right? And I mean, I know I have served that role for friends of mine over the years, and probably will continue to do that. I consider without sounding too pretentious, I consider myself to be more or less an empathetic person. That what have I always been? No, it's definitely more of a, it's a development that's taken time, and I wanted to work to be somebody that was more empathetic, because I felt like a lot of the time I was being more selfish, and I understand making time for yourself, and I still do, and I still prioritize myself, but also, you're only, again, as I said earlier in this very episode, you're only as good as the people you put around you, and if you're not willing to help that, so like I said, I'm not trying to, go back on what I said, but like, consider your problems, consider, reaching out, because you don't know if that person's having a bad day too. I guess just be conscientious before reaching out. You know what I'm saying? If you need help, obviously reach out by all means. If you really do need somebody to talk to, sometimes it can be a phone call, right? A quick phone call, or, a text message or two, right? Just make sure you're doing all right. But anyway, moving on. Forward here, like I said, thank you, Kelly, again for coming on. Fantastic episode. Again, make sure you're helping people. But moving on here, we are looking forward to having more types of guests here, more political types, bunch of different other types of guests here, more musicians, and a few other different types of people. So it is going to get more interesting. So please stick around here, guys. Please hang on there. There's going to be some good stuff coming up. I do promise that. So with that being said, gonna switch gears a little bit here and just take a moment to thank everybody for listening. So, like I said, gave you the state of how things were, but I really do appreciate everybody that's listening. I mentioned, some positive feedback and constructive criticism earlier in this episode, and that's awesome. I really do appreciate that. So, shoot me a message. If you want to see like a certain guest on, maybe I'm not privy to, right? Maybe I don't, they might just not be on my radar. Send me a message. I'm not against that. I'm not trying to, crowdsource or crowd please here either by any means, right? I'm not like desperate for guests or anything by that means, but I'm also trying to I don't know all the interesting people in the world, right? And a lot of you folks that I know that listen in are fantastic and interesting people. So like I said, if you of anybody, or a guy who knows a guy, I definitely appreciate that. But I just, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. Those of you who have tuned in consistently, much appreciated here, because again, when you start anything, you're really trying to grow it. You're really trying to build it into something. And I'm not trying to, build a brand here, get rich off this or anything like that, but I'm just trying to, put out good stories, good content for folks. Because I just enjoy, like I said, I just enjoy conversation. And, I just enjoy, getting to meet new and interesting people, because stories and conversation, that's what's really, in my opinion, driven a lot of humanity, driven us to be together, community, right? Think about whenever we have you get around the campfire, or you get to a family reunion, or I mean, God forbid, a wedding, funeral, anything like that, right? When you're together with people, with kin, regardless if they're your family or not, you talk about what you did. I can even, in my own friend group, we even have, a couple of us, we tell the same damn story 100 times, right? And, it's like, oh, you already said that, shut up. But it's still appreciated, even at the end of the day. Yeah, we care about that stuff, right? And I mean, like, those are the things to reminisce on, right? I said, don't get too lost in the past, but to tell a story from time to time, fantastic, right? That's what keeps life interesting. And frankly, that's what people are interested in: movies, books, music, even poetry, all that stuff. It's all stories. It's all stories, some fictional, some real, but the fact of the matter is that, we're fascinated by stories, and so that's why I'm fascinated by stories. I think, like I said, mankind's fascinated by story and storytelling, and so that's why, that's why I do this, and so I thank you for supporting me in that so far. And that's just, sorry, drink of water there, and just, why I want to continue to build this into something even better. And so there, like I said, there are gonna be things to come, new types of guests, more guests, stuff like that. Maybe some unique shooting locations, a few other things. So we're working on things, building it. So just stay tuned for that. There are good things to come here. But again, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Wouldn't be able to do this without the support. So if if you could subscribe, or like the videos, or give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything like that, to help us boost things, that would be really appreciated. I haven't really directly said that at any of the episodes so far. Not really trying to push a lot of that, but just a couple episodes in, if you could, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, subscribe. Like I said, like a video, like a post, anything like that, just to help us beat the algorithms a little bit on social media and such. So really appreciate that. But moving on here, I did say that I'd be talking about things for the summer here, specifically Maine in the summer. So I just wanted to catch you guys up on what I've been doing personally. I've been pretty busy doing some other things. I do coach soccer and gotten involved in a few other things that I didn't plan on getting involved in right off, but it's been good, and it's given me some time to think and do some other things. So it's been a good time this summer so far. But in terms of hikes, I know a lot of hiking content here. Back in June, hiked Bald Mountain, hiked French's Mountain, Mount Pisgah, a few local mountains there. When I say Bald Mountain, up near Quasick, Farmington, Rangeley area, excuse me. Uh, but that being said, and then Mount Pisgah, North Monmouth, Winthrop, something like that, and then French's is in Rome or Belgrade. But anyway, me, myself, family, friends, parental unit or two, and a few other folks, friends, gone hiking a few times. Plan to do some more hiking. The weather's just been kind of weird, at least, for me and my schedule. I haven't had a lot of time to get out there as much as I thought I was going to, but hopefully as we get towards the end of July into August, I'll be hiking more. I have a couple other hikes and other things planned. I said, I have a few other adventures planned, and those will be covered. Those will be, filmed and released on YouTube and Instagram and whatever else. But the fact of the matter is I'm actually heading out tomorrow, heading up north, up to camp, family camp up in Eagle Lake, Maine. That is just south of Fort Kent, Maine, which is one of the border crossings, basically almost as far as you can go, just shy of the Allagash wildlife area, waterway, up there in the tippity top. So it's about, depending if you're hauling a boat up or not, it can be anywhere from 4.5 to 5 hours north, depending on if you have moose in the road or whatever else. I'm not kidding. Route 11 is literally riddled with moose. And you have to be really careful when you're driving between dodging moose and dodging logging trucks because you have a small country, back road type style, single lane, and on either side, and you have to have a trailer with either a snowmobile or with a boat or whatever, and you have to really kind of share the road with something that's a lot bigger than you could eat you, literally and figuratively, I guess, with the moose. But the fact of the matter is, I'm going up there with a few of my buddies from the Skidder crew, and we're gonna have a good time, and I'll have some video from that. I'm sure we'll maybe see a moose, see some other things, definitely some good fishing up there and whatever else. And Eagle Lake's fantastic. If you've never been up there, definitely recommend it, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later because it does make an appearance on the top 10, or as I should say, the DuView Podcast Summer Top 10 list here, which I'm going to go into right now. So at number 10, for starting us here at the DuView Podcast Summer Top 10 list, we have Acadia National Park. Now, I have to preface this by saying I do love the national park system. I love Acadia. However, it's crazy over there now. And when I say I went to Acadia, I went back like literally June 1 before people were showing, or maybe even in April. I forget. But the fact of the matter is that's a late spring, really early summer recommendation for me, unless you like waiting in line. Now, I posted a picture on my own personal Facebook the other day, and it was literally there's a mountain in Acadia, Beehive. If you've never climbed it, it's a more of a difficult climb. It's a really unique climb because you go up the side of some ledge, and you also go up iron grates and iron rungs drilled into the rock, that type of stuff. It's a little bit of climbing, a little bit of hiking, which is really awesome. Back in the day, me and my buddies used to literally run up and down it because we had just done it so many times. But you can't run because you have to stop and wait for the person in front of you because there's now a queue or a line that snakes up the mountain. It literally looks like people are waiting in line for the new iPhone. That's literally what I said in the caption as a joke. But I'm glad people are enjoying the national parks. Don't get me wrong, but when I'm hiking, I'm not trying to wait in line. I'm not. That's just that's not the experience. I mean, if you want to go, and I don't know, that's the only issue with the really popular national parks. Yeah, I know that it's the same issue in Yellowstone. A lot of your other really famous parks around like your Old Faithful. It looks like a parking lot, right? Because people are just like all camped out, or a used car lot or whatever. But it's just it's too bad, because they're beautiful and unique hikes, but they're just gonna get worn down. I mean, the more people that walk on them and force, right, and erodes the trails, and upkeep and government money and spending for the parks. It just makes you wonder, makes you concerned a little bit. And that's just my opinion. But if I was trying to hit Acadia National Park, Bar Harbor, Mount Desert Island, I would anywhere April, May, June, early June, before school gets out, because after that it's a madhouse and good luck. You can get stuck in traffic constantly. I know one of my buddies lives down east. Shout out to Aaron, and he has to work on the island. And I was heading down to his house one time, and he was late, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Like traffic on the island. It was like late August, and it's just one of those things. It's just that you have to contend with if you're down there. So, love that area though. The coast is definitely in my blood without a question. But the fact of the matter is just if you're trying to have like a real hiking experience, I guess. Either hike one of the more obscure mountains, or just go earlier. But that being said, at number 9 we have Sebec Lake, and so I will preface this by saying two things. I've camped up at the state park at Peaks Kenny, which is on the lake, and I've also, my friends the Antworths have a camp up on Sebec Lake. Shout out to Jake and Josh. Thanks guys for letting us go up there, and Dana and Amber. Excellent, thank you guys. But their grandfather Howard bought a camp up there back in the day, and Howard has since passed on, R.I.P. But the fact of the matter is they had a family camp, and we went up there I think for the first time when we were in Scouts, and since then we just got hooked on the place. We go up there winter, summer, but summer is actually just as great as winter. There's logging roads and four-wheeler trail access. Go all the way over to Brownville, Milo. You can get on the ITS and go all over the place. But also, fishing, boating directly on Sebec Lake from the camp or from the state park. I will say, if you're planning on fishing, they do call it slow beck, so don't expect a lot of quick action there for the fishermen out there. Other people say it's fine, but there are some good fish in there. If you hit it right, you can get some monsters pulled out of there. Some good brook fishing. I won't tell you where. I can't give away the spots, but it is out there if you can find it. Additionally, in the winter, I will say, we're focusing on summer here, but in the wintertime, great. Snowmobile trail access, same thing when you can cross the lake, hop on the ITS trail, and go right to Greenville, go to really anywhere. Once you, like I said, once you can hop on one of those ITS trails, four-wheeling, more snowmobiling than four-wheeling, but you can go just about anywhere, really. But that being said, quick drink there, excuse me. But the fact of the matter is you can enjoy a whole array of outdoor activities out there, and that's where we like to go up to camp from time to time. Take the boat out, fish, swim, target practice from time to time. It's a great time. Moving on to our first event at number 8, we have Old Hollowell Days. So, to explain, Old Hollowell Days, I believe, is the celebration of the city of Hollowell, which is used to actually be part of Augusta, was referred to as the Hook back in colonial times, and it since split off and became its own city. But, a lot of folks from Hollowell and Augusta quickly interchange between the two. Hollowell is much more liberal than Augusta, and I mean that in the best way possible. Just very, very focused on, all local restaurants, no chains really. Even they had a local little grocery store in there, barber shop with the barber pole. Shout out to Dom's Barbershop downtown. And they have a great waterfront there, and there's walking trails down and around from Augusta to Hollowell. The rail trail follows the old rail bed, but Old Hollowell Days specifically is like the celebration of the town. They have a parade, and before moving back to Augusta, I used to live in Farmingdale, which is the adjoining town, and does a lot of celebrations. They share the high school with Hollowell and everything like that. Halldale High School, Hollowell, Farmingdale. So I, was a good part of that community. Played a lot of sports with a lot of folks. One of the guys who I played baseball and soccer with, his dad's now the mayor. So it's just it's one of those cool little things. Being close. It's basically like our neighbors right next door. But anyway, they have a parade, fireworks, food trucks, art, live music. It's awesome. Tony Gabry, I believe, played a gig during Old Hollowell Days, or pretty close. He's played in Hollowell a bunch. A lot of live and local music. You'll hear a lot of people that come on the podcast go down there and play. But it's just an all-around fun time. And there's fireworks at night. We always went over and would watch the fireworks. You just see people from the community get to chat. It's just an all-around good time. It's kind of turns into kind of big block party of everybody from, Augusta, Hollowell, Gardner, any of the surrounding areas, really, which is really awesome. It's great to see somebody because a lot of get to see people from the other communities. Number 7 on my list is specifically Rangeley, Maine in the summer, but the event being the Maine 3rd of July fireworks. So the town of Rangeley um, holds their fireworks for the 4th of July on the 3rd, the night before. And so, to double up on a fireworks display, why not? Me and my buddies, the first time we went up, we were down, I think, in, like Poland or something at one of the state parks down there swimming. And they said, oh, hey, like Rangeley has their fireworks. So we drove from Poland to back to Augusta to my house to restock on change out of bathing suits, clothes, all that type of stuff, and sweatshirts and whatever else for the evening. And then we boogied up to the fireworks, or maybe I think our friend Aaron was actually, you know what, our friend Aaron was up there, and he had messaged us when we were down at the state park, and so we had driven up, and he said, "Be careful of the cops, don't speed, they'll pull you over." And so my buddy Jake was driving, and we come into town going a little too fast because we were really it's a good distance from Poland to Augusta to Rangeley. I mean, it's probably darn close to, I want to say 3-ish hours of driving one way round trip. Not going to do it, but the fact of the matter is, it's a good amount of driving anyway. And so we came into town a little too hot, got pulled over, and cop comes up and he goes, "You guys trying to get to the fireworks?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, get there slowly," or something like that. And we didn't. I don't know how we didn't get a ticket. Jake's lucky like that. I've been with him, and I'm sorry to put you on blast, Jake, but I've been with him probably 5 different times, and we've been pulled over, and he hasn't gotten a ticket. And I'm not going to tell you what happened in the instances, but it's just, what the heck? I don't get it. If it was anybody else, they'd be in jail. You lucky boy. Anyway, so moving on, the Rangeley, the fireworks are fantastic. It's a good time. Double up on a fireworks display if you can get up there and back. It's great. Excellent time. Number 6 here, we have Popham Beach down in Phippsburg, Maine. I think it's one of the better beaches. It's I know that it's a state park, and whatever else they charge you to get in, blah blah blah. But it can be like crowded. But if you go down the end of the beach, you won't be bothered if you don't want to be. Directly from all the entrances and by the bathrooms and everything. Of course, it's going to be crowded. But if you spread out, that's one of my favorite beaches. Personally, there's also the fort down the road, Fort Popham, protects the mouth of the river. Against ships coming up back from colonial times, or maybe War of 1812. I forget the year exactly, but case in point, in that time period, or maybe even pre-Civil War. But anyway, they had a fort right watching the mouth of the river, and that was really one of the early settlements in, well, technically the state of Massachusetts at the time, before it even became the state of Maine, or colony rather. You know what I'm saying. The fact of the matter is that it's a great beach, excellent, big and sandy. A lot of Maine's beaches are more rocky and not so hospitable. It's nice to have a place to lay out. And the water's not too bad, and temperature wise usually. And it's, like I said, really unique area. Really very much coastal feel, coastal vibe. If you've never been down there, highly recommend it. Number 5, we have Long Pond in Belgrade, Maine, and the only part of the reason that this is so ranked so high is that one of our my friends, the Duboards family, had a place out there, and we would be able to go out there and swim and a few other things. And just it became the hangout spot when you get those really scorching hot days when we had access to a boat. Somebody would get access to a parent's boat, and we'd literally go anchor it out in the middle of the lake, jump off, swim, tube, all that stuff. So it's just like the classic beat in the heat, speaker, country music, before it was beer, it was Mountain Dew, or actually Mountain Lion. We were too cheap to actually buy real Mountain Dew, so we'd buy the Hannaford brand Mountain Lion, which I swear is the same exact stuff, just with different casing, different labeling. But but anyway, that ranks real high, and so it's just real quick, like 20-25 minutes outside of Augusta, and so it just really makes it easy for us to get in, get out, but access to some really great fun. There we fished out there, like I said, water sports, met some friends from out of state. A few other things out there, so it was just an all-around great time. A lot of good memories, a lot of good hiking out there too. Actually, Kennebec Highlands, I think that's part of the Kennebec Land Trust or something like that. But it's a great area. That's where French's Mountain is too. It looks over Long Pond and a few other ponds in the area. Number 4, I got Tumbledown Mountain. Tumbledown is out in western Maine. I forgot to look up specifically what town it is, but if you look up Tumbledown Mountain, you'll find it. Do some work. I've done the legwork on the rest of them. But anyway, Tumbledown Mountain's fantastic hike. It's one of the few mountains that has a pond at the top, or a lake at the top. Pond, not a lake. Too small. Has a pond at the top, and so if you get hot, if it's a good day, you can go swimming in the pond. It's excellent. Yeah, we were there one time, and we were eating our lunch sitting by the pond. It was just us, nobody alone, and then these rather, I say this nicely, large folks came over and just stripped down naked and hopped into the pond, and we really didn't know what to say. That we were given no heads up, no warning, and it's just like, okay, so I guess if you do go up there, be warned of potential daytime skinny dipping. But that aside, it's a fantastic hike. You can do some more research on it. The photos are fantastic. There is one trail you can go up. The section's called Fat Man's Misery, and basically you have to climb through a waterfall / little cave with iron rungs, very similar to the beehive hike that I described earlier. But if you have too big of a backpack, or if you're a large person, large person, you probably shouldn't go up that way. You'll get stuck, or you might have to take your backpack off and haul it up behind you. Just little heads up there. Hiked it many times. Hiked it for the first time way back in the day in Scouts. Excellent time. And we actually even had one of my buddies, Casey, brought his dad, Mike, brought their dog, Sonny, that they had at the time. And Sonny hiked the mountain with us up until he got to Fat Man's Misery. And then he had to be carried up on Mike's back, I believe, or something like that, because he couldn't quite get through the cave, the waterfall cave there with the ladder. So, like I said, if that tells you anything. So moving on here, we're now within the top 5 here. Just going to stop for a quick water break here for a second. At number 3 here, we have Boothbay Harbor. Boothbay Harbor, my grandfather and family and his family lived down there. From there, my great grandfather came over from Italy right before the Second World War. We had family here already that sponsored him coming over, but eventually they would go on to establish a family there, and they had a grocery store. They used to have an old pier out there in Boothbay, and they used to have the Carboni's grocery, and my great uncle, whose camp we're actually going to, he even remembers it, talked about it. But anyway, my family's from there, and so that's what makes it probably special for me. But that aside, there is other great stuff other than sentimental things there. There's a lot of great restaurants, great views, great other hikes and other things in the area. They do have an aquarium there. They have lobsters if you want to go see. If you've never seen like a blue lobster, they have blue lobsters there from time to time. Really rare, really unique. Very slim chance of seeing those. You really probably don't have a good chance of seeing those by yourself without looking it up online. But also, there's the co-op, or what used to be the co-op. I forget what they changed the name to, but you can get these massive lobster rolls. Food's fantastic. Any seafood you really want, it's all fresh. It's all caught right off the coast right there. Some great beaches in the area, a little hidden, within these rocky coves. They're these little, nice little sandy beaches in different areas, and it's just a really awesome place. It's a little bit more rocky and coastal and kind of cliffish, in a sense, but there are a lot of little other communities around Boothbay, East Boothbay, little other tiny villages and such, and that just make it really unique from other places on the coast. Getting there can be a kind of a pain from time to time during the summer. Not going to lie to you there, but if you know the shortcuts and back roads, it's not so bad. Just ask a local. At number 2, this is kind of a cop-out, I guess, but I'm just going to define it as camp. And if you're from New England, specifically if you're from Maine, you go to camp, right? Bob Marley says you go up to camp. I know people were saying that before Uncle Bobby, but you go up to camp, right? And so when I say camp, it can be very interchangeable. When I say we're going to camp this weekend, right, we're going up to my family's camp. But when I say in the wintertime we're going up to camp, we're probably going up to the Antwerps camp up on Sebec or somewhere else. Or when we're saying we go to camp, we could also be referring to the Duboard's place, out in Belgrade. So camp being interchangeable. And if you're from New England, if you New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, anything out there, you probably have a friend that has a camp that you go to either religiously or, frequently enough that you're, pretty comfortable there. The layout of the land. You have a bed, so to speak, like that type of thing. it's just interchangeable, and so that's at number 2 because that's just special and unique. Which leads me to number 1 being specifically Eagle Lake, Maine, where my family's camp is. We're on the back side of the lake, and it's a little more quiet, and it's excellent. It's good fishing, especially if you're trolling. There's four-wheeler access. There's other ponds and lakes very accessible. And also just if you've never been to Aroostook County, you need to. And I'm talking about the deep middle part of the county. There are kind of like different regions to the county. There's the coastal part of the county. There's also the other side near Van Buren, Presque Isle. But this is more, central north part of the county. And so, you drive through and, when you get a good sunset against the potato fields, and I know that sounds, kind of a weird thing, but it's beautiful. The sunset's up there. And during the summertime, the winters can be harsh without a doubt. You'll probably have snow on Thanksgiving, but the fact of the matter is the summertime is beautiful. When we're going to be going up there, it's going to be in the 80s. It's just going to be it's in high 70s. It's going to be awesome. But it's cool at night, and usually the bugs aren't so bad. And the wildlife up there. I mean, one quick story. When I was up there, when my uncle was up there, when they still lived up in Fort Kent, we were at the camp and woke up one morning, looked out of the tent, and there's a moose standing basically right in front of my uncle's dock in the water. You're that close to that type of stuff. So if you are interested in getting face to face with the wildlife from a safe distance, Aroostook County is the place. Eagle Lake, like I said, smack dab right in the middle off of Route 11, and it's excellent. It's just a fantastic spot. Fantastic spot. So that takes us through the top 10. So just to run through those real quick for you. Number 10, Acadia National Park. Number 9, Sebec Lake. Number 8, Old Hollowell Days. Number 7, Rangeley, Maine. Number 6, Popham Beach. Number 5, Long Pond. Number 4, Tumbledown Mountain. Number 3, Boothbay Harbor. Number 2, Camp. And number 1, Eagle Lake. So I just wanted to finish off the podcast today with a quick story that, since we're talking about the highlights of summer, I want to talk about one of the best trips of my summer. So I'll just take a quick sip of water here real quick before I get into this, because it's a good story. So you might want to grab a popcorn or something here and sit back. So anyway, the story is really the story. You could even consider it maybe some of the groundwork for my friend group, from my friends from back home. But we went on a 50-mile canoe trip. That's a few days, of canoeing. We're not doing that all in one day. Just for people to judge, that's a good distance. It's 3 or 4 days. I think we did a 4 days, something like that, if memory serves me. We weren't very old. I mean, we were, in Boy Scouts maybe a couple, 2 years at that point. We weren't very old at the time, but we went on this 50-mile canoe trip. We started off the Golden Road. Roll Dam, I believe, is where we started. We canoed the west branch of the Penobscot. So we started from the dam, went down the river, went into Lobster Lake. There's a ranger station out there, for reference. And we went around the lake real quick and then went back into the river. And from the river, we dumped into Chizuncook Lake, stopped at Chizuncook Village, and then finished off at another dam down by the another portion of the Golden Road, 100-mile wilderness area, outside of Millinocket, Maine. And so to get into the specifics, when we put in literal whitewater. So we have these canoes loaded up to the gunnels with gear, coolers, freeze-dried meals, toilet paper, clothing, tents, everything like that. And so we're literally going into whitewater, and one of the kids on the trip stands up in his canoe as he's going down the river in the middle of the rapids and yells, "Whitewater canoeing!" And, didn't flip over. We thought it was going to happen, but I had to redeem myself in that moment, because on the canoe trip prior, I had a little mishap where I had flipped the canoe over in the Kennebec River in some rapids, just due to some weight differentials and a few other things. But I had really learned how to helm the canoe very well at that point. So I was at the back and had an opportunity to redeem myself in certain aspects, and steered us through the rapids, no problem. The river mellowed out and we floated for a while. So to give you guys some background information on that year, I think I don't know exactly what year it was off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up. Should have looked it up before the story, but unfortunately I didn't. I'm lazy. Sorry. But when we were going, it was a high water year, very high. There'd been a lot of snow, a lot of melt, so the rivers were running very high and very fast. A lot of rain, very rainy spring, but the summer was great, and so we were able to float in certain spots, so we weren't getting tired out or anything like that. But we still paddled quite a bit, and I'll come back to some paddling in a minute that we really had to put in some work. That'll come later in the story though. And so we stayed the first night. It rained. And so we set things up. The bugs were pretty rough. But before we had gotten to our campsite, we were coming down, and so I think we had about 8 canoes in total on the trip, with all of us in them, in gear and everything like that. And so we had 8 canoes, and so we came along to another campsite that we were thinking about stopping at first. And unfortunately, it had already been taken by some people, but they thought, oh, this is Maine. This is a river in the middle of nowhere. There won't be people. So again, I don't understand why there are so many people running naked in so many of my stories. I guess that's 2 stories in the podcast where we came across people skinny dipping. But yeah, they just thought that there was going to be nobody around, and then a canoe of just 8 canoes of dudes come rolling around the corner, and they're like, oh crap. So they like went under the water. It was pretty funny. But anyway, we got to our first campsite. Little buggy, little rainy. Woke up the next morning, and we were setting off, and we were actually ahead of pace from the day before. We were supposed to stay at Lobster Lake the night before, but being with the fast currents, it put us ahead. So we actually stayed like at a halfway point, and so we were planning on, okay, we'll go to Chizuncook Lake. That was the next destination. We're going to stop and see the town. It's like a town year round at the time, and this was a few years ago. Year round population of 3. Chizuncook Village. Look it up. Year round population of 3, but little beknownst to us, we walked into the middle of a literal turf war. The warden service had just shown up along with some county sheriffs and a few other like backwoods law enforcement, and like a ranger and a few other things. Like, it was wild. We literally walked in. Some people from Massachusetts were trying to buy up the town, and the townspeople weren't having it. And apparently somebody burnt down a building, and they were afraid of like guns, like war breaking out. Yeah, it was wild. I'm not making this shit up. I'm serious. Like, there's 8 people that can verify this story. It was just, yeah, we walked in the middle of a turf war, and at the same time, massive weather event. There was a ranger station there. As I said, there was a ranger there, and he came over to our scoutmaster and said, "Hey, you guys, I don't know if you're staying in town tonight, but you guys, if you're going somewhere, are gonna want to get moving because there's basically a mini hurricane coming through, micro event on the lake, Chizuncook Lake." And lo and behold, the sky got really dark, darkest I've ever seen, and we had to get to the campsite because we weren't staying in the town. We had to go across part of the lake to an island, Giro Island, and there were some lean-tos there that we could stay in instead of staying in our tents, like wooden Adirondack structures. You could sleep under, open in the front, but covered on 3 sides with walls and a roof. But anyway, we're crossing the lake, and the sky just opens up, pouring down buckets and buckets and buckets. The canoes are starting to literally not fill with water, but you're getting at least a couple an inch or so of water in the bottom of your canoe along with your gear. And so we're paddling through that, lightning striking around us because you're not supposed to be on the water in a thunder. It just opened up on us. We had a little choice. We thought we were going to be able to beat the storm. We got about halfway, and it opened up on us. And it was just a decision that had to be made. But anyway, the waves started moving, the wind started picking up the lake. We're literally floating. If you've ever been in a canoe, they're very wobbly from side to side. We literally just started left side up, right side down, up and down, and up and down. Very like sway, very rocky like that. Like, I mean, and you're weighed down with gear. This isn't just your casual canoe at summer camp. This is like I said, food, tent, your personal gear, a bunch of stuff. I mean, they're heavy, right? And so you're very tippy, and so you had to be real careful. And again, you're trying to keep the thing straight, also move. The wind and the rain's knocking you over, so you have to try to steer yourself wide of your actual destination. And we all thought we were going over. I could tell just with my buddy that was in my buddy Casey in the canoe. That was in my canoe with me. I was in the back. He was in the front. I could just tell that we were just, oh my god, like it was like white knuckling to your paddle. Because again, you're literally in the middle of like basically a hurricane on a lake. Like I said, lightning striking, War of the Worlds type stuff. Horrific. Like, really, honestly, I was scared. I won't lie. It was scary. But we finally made it across to the island. We started I was one of the first to make it over. We ferried people in. We got the canoes up on shore, and it was like Moses parting the Red Sea or something like that, or and like, or somebody walking on water or something, and then the sky just opened up and it was clear. It was windy, but the sky opened up, and by that point, the sun was behind the clouds and was starting to set, and so you got these beautiful oranges and pinks, and we were able to hang up all of our wet gear and dry it in the wind. It was dry in a matter of minutes because the wind was still pretty strong. And so little did we know the wind was actually going to be one of our biggest allies at the end of the day. And so, or actually not at the end of the day, but the next day rather. And so we jammed the six of us or so into the Adirondack shelter, sleeping literally like sardines. But it was better than sleeping in our tents were soaked. We had our tents and bags, but it didn't matter between the water coming in and everything like that. There was no way of, unless you had them in dry bags, but we didn't. I mean, they were tents, whatever. You can hang them up and dry them. But so when we knew this island had shelter, so we hung up our tents to dry them out. We set them up and just hung them up on a clothesline and let them blow in the breeze there. But so the fact of the matter is that we all slept like sardines, on our mats, like right next to each other, like cramped right up, and it was just like, nobody fart. that was and yeah, again, we were like 11, 12 years old, whatever. It was funny, but it was just one of those times. It just makes for great memories. It was just funny. I can still think of some of the stupid songs and other things that we were talking about at the time, if I really think back on it. But we woke up the next day, and the wind was still really powerful. The water was still very turbulent. That being said, we packed everything up and had to make our way. We had about, I think, 20 miles to go before we were going to hit the dam for the last day. And or the last, where we're taking out of the water. We couldn't go any further because of the dam. We were taking out to finish the trip. So we had about 20 miles. And so we paddled for about one or two, and we were just getting pushed. I mean, we weren't very big at the time. We were kids. I mean, we weren't, we only, the grown men were all right, but still there were just some of us some of us were just not as strong, and we got starting getting pulled back, and so people had to wait, and we were starting to get pulled away and separated. And so about, I think, six of the canoes came together, and we all tied up, and we decided to put one of our tarps up that we were using under our tents, and basically sail our canoe, turn them into a big like catamaran style thing. And so we lashed all the canoes together, and we started sailing. And so the guys behind us that got separated, the other two canoes, started doing the same thing. And they were like a small sailboat, so they were able to zoom a little bit more. We were like the bigger brig, while they were like a a smaller slope or something like that. And so we were sailing, we had a wake and everything. We were going quite fast, and so we decided to pull off and wait for the other two canoes that were behind us, so we could make, like the super raft or the super catamaran of canoes, tie all 8 of them together and put 2 tarps together, or had 2 sails or something, or so. We had basically like a double sail tied up. We used the oars in the front as kind of like pseudo mass, and the wind was pushing us from behind. And then we had the other back rope tied to the back of the rear canoe, the rear of the canoe. And my canoe had a seat on the back, so I was actually able to adjust the sail and kind of angle it and do some other things. And then we had the people who were on the outside backs, like on the 2 outside canoes of the 8, on number 1 and number 8, and they were acting as rudders. And it was really, really cool. The ingenuity, it was like, couldn't ask for, honestly, just everybody that was there. It was a fantastic group. If I remember correctly, we had myself, my buddy Aaron, his dad Alan. Let me see. We had Jake and Josh and their dad Dana, Tony Obi and his sons Noah and Spencer, and Dan Peterson, who was one of the other scoutmasters. If I remember, and Casey Bancroft as well. Sorry, Casey, I can't do that to you. Sorry, buddy. Casey too. It was just it was a great group. Casey was my buddy. We were in the canoe together, and we actually were buddies together on many a canoe trip. He was a good front paddler, and I was a good back paddler, and we were able to switch too. He had the same abilities in the back that more or less I did, and so we were able to swap off, which made it really easy. We did a bunch of other trips together, Moose River up in Jackman, A few other trips like that too. But anyway, getting back to the story to finish things off. So we waited for them, and they almost sailed by us. I threw up my rain poncho that was yellow up on a piece of big driftwood that was off on the side. That's how big this lake is. It's really good size. And so I picked it, and they then sailed over to us, and so we, put everybody together, tied up, rowed out together as a unit, and then lashed everything together. We had our sails set, tied together on shore, and so we threw up our sails and got going. We had a wake, like I said, big wake. We were passing people paddling, if that gives you anything. The only thing that was able to pass us was a motorboat, obviously. So, like I said, we were a full-on sailing rig. We sailed 16 and a half miles. 16 and a half miles, which is amazing. Tied 8 canoes together and sailed 16 and a half miles. And so, that was the trip. We finished it a couple days ahead of time, or a day ahead of time, something like that. But that's just one of my favorite summer stories. Just there was so many, moments on that trip that just made for an excellent experience. And, it's a moment of brotherhood, moment of, friendship, moment of adventure, and just a moment to connect with the outdoors and with nature and the beauty of this state. And so, that is my story of the 50-mile canoe trip. Apologies for the tangents at times, but the fact of the matter is, 50-mile canoe trip, West Branch of the Penobscot in Maine. Started at one of the dams, finished at another dam, off the Golden Road near Millinocket, and it was just an excellent experience. So that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap things up for today. I hope everybody's having a great summer so far. Please continue to tune in. Please share anything. Check us out on social media. I'm doing better to post more and put more out here myself. So if you could give us a share, give us a like, subscribe on YouTube, anything like that, it'd be a big help. And really appreciate it. If you don't have a YouTube account, if you could maybe make one and follow us. Show us some love. I don't know. Anyway, the fact of the matter is I appreciate everybody for tuning in here at DuView207 on Instagram, the DuView Podcast everywhere else. And like I said, guys, feel free to reach out if you with any criticism, if you want to, check in, critique, anything like that, guest suggestions, anything like that, guys. Really want to start engaging more with listeners, so feel free to reach out. I'm just a message away. Anyway, so that being said, guys, I'm gonna wrap things up for today. Hope everybody's having a great summer, and I will see you guys back here on August 3rd with the next episode. So thank you for tuning in, and have a great rest of your week.